Welcome back, everyone. Coming off a great day 1 of the NBA draft, with the Lakers managing to pick up Knecht, they entered day 2 of the draft with the 55th overall draft pick. And while many thought they might trade up or even outright buy another draft pick with cash, they ended up staying put, which ended up allowing them to make NBA history, becoming the first NBA team to ever pair father and son together, with that of course being LeBron and BRONNY, aka LeBron James Jr. Now that definitely will and should be the story from day 2, but it was not the only thing that they did. In fact, they made 2 more additions after that one, picking up a couple of two-way contracts. And given their history with two-way contract undrafted players, you should never overlook the players they pick up. And with that in mind here, we're going to talk about the Lakers draft day additions, reviewing everybody they picked up from Knecht in the first round, Bronny James in the second round, along with who they picked up after the draft ended entirely. But before we get too far into it, don't forget to drop a like, hit that subscribe button if you have not already, and then turn on notifications so you never miss out when I upload a video. I know it's kind of cliche, but it really does help the channel, and I really do appreciate it. But without further ado, let's dive right into it, and we'll begin by briefly going over Knecht one more time. I already made an entire video on him if you want to check that out, but like I talked about, I think they hit a home run here with him. After all, we're talking about a guy that was widely expected to go top 10, and yet he fell all the way down to 15th. And no, it did not happen to be from an injury issue, a behavior problem, or anything like that. The guy is simply a 23-year-old 5-year college player, and for whatever reason, that scared away teams from making him a lottery pick. But thankfully, that did not scare away the purple and gold from taking him at 15th. And I imagine they were getting a little bit of PTSD from what happened last year with Cam Whitmore, which they did not want a repeat of. So rather than drafting for their biggest need, which many believe to be a center, they went with the best player available. And in my opinion, you simply cannot argue with it. The guy is arguably a top 3 offensive player in the entire draft, and especially if we're talking about being NBA ready. And for a team like the Lakers that are trying to compete, then you obviously want a guy that can help you with that. Not a one and done freshman that might take years to develop, which will likely be the case with who they drafted last year, with that being Jalen Hood-Schifino. But not Knecht, the guy can literally help them from day 1. And while JJ Redick already appears to be planning for that too, with him reportedly drawing up plays for him immediately after they drafted him. And speaking of JJ Redick, Knecht was the perfect guy to take for him. A true 3-level scoring threat, and not to mention a legitimate movement shooter, something that every team wants in the modern NBA. And with that being said, I really don't think you can argue against them taking him. He was great from both a value standpoint, along with being able to help them right now standpoint, which really should have been the priority for them in my opinion. Moving on here though, let's talk about their new additions. And beginning with Bronny, I don't think anybody is surprised about it happening. I mean, we have been hearing about it for literal years now, and well, I guess it finally happened. Don't get me wrong here though, I'm definitely not mad about it. In fact, I'm actually in favor of it. Now, I probably would have not been if they traded up to draft him, but that never ended up happening. They stood pat at 55th overall and waited for him to drop to them, which may or may not have been affected by Rich Paul behind the scenes. But regardless, I think he was a great addition for their team at 55th overall. And again, they did in fact make NBA history by doing it, and you know how the Lakers absolutely love to do that, which Rob Pelinka talked about after officially drafting him, and I'll let you hear about what he had to say.
You know, I think about the Los Angeles Lakers, I think about, a franchise where basketball history just sort of unfolds and takes place. I mean, if you think back to the origins of the game of basketball and Dr. Naismith and Peach Basket and all that's emanated from the invention of the game, and you think that in the history of the NBA, there's never been a father and a son that have shared an NBA basketball court, and that feels like something that could be magical. And we know and have to respect, of course, that LeBron has a decision about his opt-out, and I'm sure he and his family and his agent will deliberate what they're going to do there, and of course he has freedom to decide whatever's best for him and his family. But if it worked out that he was on our team next season, NBA history could be made, and NBA history should be made in a Lakers uniform. So that's just sort of globally how we feel about the draft moment, but more important than that is to talk about Bronny James as a basketball player, because this is his day, and he was the one selected with the 55th pick. Bronny is first and foremost, a person of high character. And second, he is a young man that works incredibly hard. And those are the qualities we look for in drafting players and adding to our developmental core at the Lakers.
Again, I know a lot of talk has been made about Bronny forcing his way to their team, but I really do think that he deserved to be drafted. Now, do I like the way that he and Rich Paul went about it? Not really. But I am more than happy for my favorite team to draft him at 55th overall. Now, he might get talked about more for being LeBron's son, but there is a legitimate NBA player here in my opinion. Now, it won't be LeBron 2.0, but it very well could be a guy like Davion Mitchell, Derek White, or maybe even Drew Holiday if he really works hard, all of which he has been compared to. And in my opinion, any one of them will be a great turnout for a 55th overall draft pick. I mean, I think we often tend to forget how few of them actually make it in the NBA, because more often than not, they are out of the league entirely by year 2 or 3. But in my opinion, Bronny has a really bright future for a late second round pick. Now, he might not be ready to contribute in year number 1, which is why I did not want to trade up for him, but I think he will eventually become a good role player, likely with his ability to be a 3-and-D guard. And if he could ever become a good point of attack defender, along with shooting over 35% from 3, then that alone would make him worth it. And I really don't think that's hard to believe happening. With him already being a pretty good defender, along with having a good shooting motion, he really just needs to put it all together. But again, I probably would not be expecting him to contribute in year number 1. Simply put, he likely won't be ready. Maybe for a rebuilding team he would have been, but not for a contending team, which will likely lead to him spending a majority, if not all of his time in the G League. Moving on here though, we got 2 undrafted players to talk about too, both of which the Lakers signed to a 2-way contract. And those 2 happen to be Blake Hinson, along with Armel Traore. And beginning with Blake Hinson, they got a 3-point sharpshooter here with him. The guy is coming off of shooting 42% from 3 on nearly 8 attempts per game. Pretty damn impressive. And I don't know about you guys, but as a North Carolina fan, I absolutely love when he celebrated in front of Duke fans after pulling off an upset over them. The guy has some confidence to do that, and especially in their own home stadium. But again, the main highlight here for me would definitely have to be his 3-point shooting. In fact, many believe he had an argument to be the best 3-point shooter in the entire draft, meaning the Lakers got 2 of the best between him and Dalton Knecht. But even apart from that, he has some legitimate talent on offense, being a true 3-level scoring threat, along with being an underrated rebounder for a wing, averaging over 5 of them per game, along with over 1 offensive rebound per game during the final 2 years of his college career. Though there definitely are some cons here with him as well, with the first one being on defense. And don't get me wrong, he was not a bad defender in college, but he was only around average, meaning he might be below average in the NBA. But thankfully, I don't think he will be a liability on defense, which would be the only thing holding him back from potentially being a really good role player. There is no doubt about his 3-point shooting ability, but it likely will come down to how he turns out on defense. I mean, he will either end up being another Cole Swider for them, who unfortunately cannot defend at the NBA level, or he could become a Duncan Robinson kind of player. One that, although might not be a great defender, he can at least be around average on defense. Finally though, we'll finish up by talking about Armel Traore, and I gotta admit, I had no idea who he was when they signed him, and to absolutely no surprise at all here, he is in fact an international player, being born in France and playing overseas throughout his entire career so far. But now he'll be coming over to the NBA, and I imagine we'll get to watch him play during Summer League, where he'll be providing them with some much needed frontcourt depth, being a 6'8" power forward center hybrid. And for a 21-year-old, he is very experienced, having already played 4 years of professional basketball, and not to mention being a former teammate of Victor Wembanyama's. And from watching him play, you can tell that he is a high energy type of player. He absolutely loves to get out and run the court, where he can often beat his matchup down the court. And then within the half-court setting, he is a very good rebounder, averaging over 10 rebounds per 36 minutes. Though another thing I like about him is that he is not afraid to shoot from 3. Now, he definitely does have a little bit more work to do here, but he did connect on 27 total 3-point shots during the past 2 years now, shooting about 31% from beyond the arc during that time frame. And overall, I think they made 2 very interesting additions with their 2-way contracts, and then combined them with Dalton Knecht and Bronny James, and they had a great NBA draft in my opinion. But with all of that being said, what do you guys think? How do you feel about the Lakers' NBA draft day pickups? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. That will do it for this video though. Big thank you to those of you who took the time to watch until the end of this video, and until the end of all of my videos in general. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day.